Professor Emeritus of Political Science from the University of Illinois. And if I pressed all the right buttons, Kent, you should be able to hear me. How are you doing this morning?
Doing just fine. Good morning.
Good morning. Glad to have you here. And like I said, appreciate having you on the show this morning. And if I pressed all the right buttons, we should be good to go and get this all working. But again, Grayson's out this morning. So Ken agreed to talk to me a little bit this morning about some of the great stuff that's going on. And absolutely nothing going on in the political world right now, right, Ken? It's been completely quiet. No change of presidency or anything like that. But before we get to the national topics, as we have plenty to talk about on that front, I wanted to ask you really, really quick because they just finished up the Congress here just finished up their lame duck session, and I know there's been a lot of talk about the state budget.
Yes, and so the governor's going to come in on the 19th of February and do a budget address that will set out what his priorities in general, and then there will be a very specific, set of recommendations that the leadership in the House and the Senate will introduce. Then it's a race to get to the end of May when it becomes harder to pass a budget. What's unusual about this year, as opposed to the last 3 or 4 years, as we came out of a budget crisis when Governor Pritzker took office, we've had a lot of federal money coming in involving COVID relief, COVID impact funds. That money is pretty much gone. And so we're looking at significant, billion-dollar kind of figures in terms of budget deficits and hard budget decisions. You've got a lot of people in the legislature that have never really had to vote for a tough budget. What are you going to, you have to give money, you want to give money to children and family services, how much do you want to take away from elementary ed or higher ed to make the numbers come out? And so it's, there are a lot of things. We've got a mass transit funding crisis up in northeastern Illinois. Schools, higher ed, elementary ed, have had some lean years and things have been better, but so that's something to watch. It's just, your local legislators are going to be, advocating for, what they think their constituents would like, but it's going to be a very different budget session than we've had the last couple of years when we've had surpluses.
Yeah, and with that being said, looking at those figures, I know that some Republicans have been very vocal about the fact that they were relying on a lot of that COVID money, and what were they going to do for budget-wise when that money ran out?
Yeah, and again, you hope that most of it is being spent on things that are one time, or you're not building it into your operating budget in so much as we have. And that's really the problem up with mass transit, the suburban system, the city system in the city of Chicago. They've been relying on federal money to pay operating expenses. And then, so we're not just talking about discontinuing a particular program. We're talking about, if you're going to have to start laying people off or cutting services. And so that's really it's a new thing for a lot of legislators who, haven't had to make the tough decisions and then go back and explain them to the people back in their districts.
The governor's set to give his budget address on February 19th, and just off, what would you like to see, or what do you think we'll see from the governor from that address?
It's going to be budget, belt tightening, and then what he considers his, in terms of new initiatives. We formed a new agency on early childhood education, and so he's going to try and make sure that you've got shifted money, got money for that, got money for elementary and secondary education, but that's going to require if more money one place, going to require less money somewhere else. And so, you're going to get a lot of people that are not happy, but you have to compromise. That's or you end up with chaos like we did during the beginning of the Rauner years when we had a budget standoff and the state ended up literally millions of dollars in debt. So they're going to have to work a lot harder. It's never easy, but this is going to be more difficult.
One of the big topics coming up as well, Kent Redfield, is pension reform and the state pension systems. Talk a little bit about what's going on with that.
Well, the state, we did a two-tiered system to try to reduce the costs of our pensions. These are defined benefit pensions that go to teachers, state employees, and then local government, police, fire. We did adopted a new system going forward called Tier 2 for new hires that had less benefits, longer, you had to go longer until you were eligible for retirement. That system, in order for the state not to participate in Social Security, which we do not generally in terms of public employees, you've got to kind of match the federal system in terms of what you get out of Social Security. We are in danger of not being out of compliance with that in terms of Tier 2. Now, that would be terrible for the state and state employees to start paying Social Security, employee taxes, on top of the pension taxes and pension contributions. And so you want to avoid that. Governor wants a simple fix, which you can do in terms of changing a few things to get us into compliance. And that what often happens when you've got something that has to be done, then you've got people that say, well, as long as you're doing that, why don't we do this? And so you've got the public employee unions and retiree groups that want to expand benefits, make Tier 2 a little more attractive. Then you have primarily Republican legislators and public interest, economic liberty groups that say, what we really need to do is amend the Constitution, get rid of that pension guarantee, and start getting the system in position where you can pay off our pension debt more quickly and have more money for other things. I suspect we'll not get any big changes in either direction, but that's pretty typical for the legislature to, if you've got a must-pass bill, then people are looking for ways to get their particular, issue, taken care of at the same time.
All right. Yeah. It sounds like a lot of maneuvering and finagling from both sides on that, as far as trying to get everybody happy, but not everybody happy. There's just a lot of moving parts with it.
Oh yeah.
All right. And another big topic that I want to talk to you about, we got to take a break here in just a few moments, but we have a couple minutes to talk about this. A couple of years ago, down here in Christian County, Illinois, they did a vote in the election about breaking away from Chicago, breaking away from the northern counties, and basically being all right with forming their own state. And I didn't think it would pass. It passed in the county by flying colors, and apparently that's making the news again.
Yeah, and Indiana right now is there's some counties on the Indiana border, and so they're talking about what we have to do in Indiana in order to allow those counties to move over out of Illinois. There are roadblocks in terms of the U.S. Constitution with doing this. There are practical implications. Getting rid of Chicago sounds great, except that the vast majority of the state's economic activity takes place in northeastern Illinois. The one political downside, if you were to say form a state with downstate Illinois and a state with Chicago, you would have to add 2 new senators. And so, that could be 2 new Republican senators, 2 new Democratic senators. It would depend on, how you actually drew the lines. And lots of times, politicians faced with kind of uncertainty, they think, well, the one law we can't repeal is the law of unintended consequences. And so they're generally reluctant to take risks. But there's a lot of dissatisfaction, in downstate, as downstate has had less political clout as it has become more Republican in what is a very Democratic state because of shifts in the northeastern suburbs.
All right, sounds good. Dr. Kent Redfield talking to us a little bit here about Professor Emeritus of Political Science, talking to us a little bit about some of the great stuff going on at the state level. When we come back, we'll talk to him about what's going on at the national level. You're listening to WTIM, your information station. Back in just a few moments.
Your information station, WTIM.
This is Lance Vonderheide with People's Bank and Trust, where customers have one business banker who understands their business and provides the right financial services to achieve their financial goals. Your business banker is your single source for all your financial needs, from cash management to lines of credit, from mortgages to equipment loans and everything in between. Call me at 888-PBT-1954. At People's Bank and Trust, we put people first. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
Springfield Clinic Taylorville Walk-In is open from 8 a.m. till 8 p.m. Monday through Friday. Here's Dr. Pavi Gill with more details.
Our walk-in clinic is open from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. Monday through Friday to address your minor illnesses and injuries. No appointment necessary. Whether you need a quick checkup or urgent care, just walk in and get the care you need when you need it.
There you have it. For convenient same-day care, visit Springfield Clinic Taylorville Walk-In at 600 North Main Street.
Hi everyone, Nicole Patrick here, your new local country financial representative at 917 West Bresser in Taylorville. I'm proud to recognize the Tornado student athletes that represent our community by being the exclusive sponsor of the WTIM Nicole Patrick Country Financial Player of the Game. During Tornado sports broadcasts this school year, WTIM announcers will select a player at the end of each game who will receive a certificate for being named our Player of the Game. Good luck to all the teams this season, and go Tornadoes!
Shop local first.
Think about what a huge impact local shopping has on our local economy when our money stays at home versus shopping via the internet or with the big box stores. Your dollars get turned over several times, benefiting our communities. The Miller Media Group and these local businesses encourage you to shop local first. Davis Family McDonald's, located in Taylorville, Pana, Shelbyville. I'm loving it. These local businesses and the Miller Media Group ask you to shop local first.
Shop local first. All across the area, shop here first.
Whether it's the Bailey Park Adult Community or the Hillcrest Park for all ages, both in Taylorville, they have a place for you and your manufactured home. Bring your own, or they'll sell you one. Find out more by clicking their icon at TaylorvilleDailyNews.com.
The Shelby County Economic Development Corporation is here to help your business grow, fostering success, attracting investment, and building a stronger community. Learn more today at TaylorvilleDailyNews.com.
Your information station, WTIM.
And welcome back to WTIM, your information station. Kent Redfield joining us, Professor Emeritus of Political Science from the University of Illinois, and we've had some great discussion about state level and what's going on at the state, Dr. Redfield. But what is going on at the national level is what we've seen is President Trump signing a ton of executive orders. Let's talk a little bit about that. First of all, why sign executive orders? I know they go through quicker, but can't the next president just come in and just reverse all of it again?
Yeah, I mean, that certainly is the case. Part of this was erasing some things that former President Biden had done, but it allows you to get out there and change things quickly that are under your authority and kind of set the agenda. And so, when you come in as a new president or, a new term, you want to take, put everybody on notice, and you want to, get the conversation going about the things you're interested in. And so, some of these are, the president is commander in chief. If he wants to send the Coast Guard to the Gulf of America these days, then he can do that. You can't, he probably can't change the Constitution. And so currently, birthright citizenship, the interpretation of the 14th Amendment is that, people born in the United States are citizens with some limited exceptions. But a lot of this is him trying to, in a case of immigration, trying to, focus and ramp up all of this activity. For things like, he can order the federal workforce no more remote learning and working from home. So it's a mixed bag of things. Some of these are very substantial. Some are just purely almost press releases. What we're seeing in Illinois is a lot of concern and confusion about, as we ramp up immigration enforcement, which comes from these orders, what role do local police and state police play in these? And the law is, federal and state law are pretty clear. Federal law is, this is what immigration and, the ICE, the Immigration Service, is charged with. States, and they're the only ones that can arrest someone, criminally with it has to be a criminal warrant that comes from the federal agency. But states are, and they can request local cooperation. States are free to do that, but they're also free not to do that. And they say, it's a request. Illinois one step further, which is, inconsistent with the Democratic leadership in the state, so the act which prohibits local and state authorities from cooperating with the Immigration Service unless the Immigration Service has a criminal warrant signed by a judge. And so, your county police, local police are prohibited from going out and trying to, determine immigration status of individuals and arrest them. That's a federal responsibility. States can opt in to cooperate. Illinois has chosen not to. And so that's all part of being in a federal system. There's just going to be a lot of sorting out as we go through this, because you've done so much all at once, and it will take a while for this, us to understand what's real and what's not real.
Oh, it should be an interesting it should be an interesting couple of weeks, couple of months. So, all right. Well, we are out of time. Again, I could spend the next 2 hours talking to you about this kind of stuff. We are sadly out of time. Dr. Redfield, thank you so much for taking a couple of minutes to talk to us today about some of the great stuff going on, both at the state level and the national level.
My pleasure. Always happy to chat.
All right, that is Dr. Kent Redfield joining us. He is the Professor Emeritus of Political Science with the University of Illinois. And when we come back, we'll have much more here on WTIM Morning Show.
Your information station, WTIM.
Big 870 WTIM Assumption Taylorville, 96.1 W241 CF Taylorville, 107.5 W298 CD Shelbyville, 107.9 W300 EH Payne and Nokomis.
News this hour from townhall.com. I'm Rich Thomason. Israel says a Hamas list shows that 8 of the hostages to be released in the first phase of the Gaza ceasefire deal are dead. An Israeli government official says Hamas indicates the other 25 captives to be released are alive. Following President Trump's threat of stiff tariffs and punishing sanctions on Colombia, That country has now agreed to take back its citizens who entered the U.S. illegally. Where did COVID get its start? New CIA Director John Ratcliffe says there's a growing body of evidence pointing to communist China.
The CIA has assessed that the most likely cause of this pandemic that has wrought so much devastation around the world was because of a lab-related incident in Wuhan. And so we'll continue to investigate.
Ratcliffe on Sunday Morning Futures on Fox. The 80th anniversary of the liberation of Auschwitz being observed at the site of the former Nazi death camp, and the BBC's Jessica Parker is there.
On the 27th of January 1945, Soviet troops entered Auschwitz. Reports say cautiously at first, as they feared a Nazi ambush. But German guards had already evacuated the camp, forcing tens of thousands of prisoners to go with them as part of what became known as death marches. However, around 7,000 prisoners who'd been left behind were discovered, emaciated and terrorized. More than 1 million people were systematically murdered at this camp. The majority of them were Jews.
Along with many Poles, Roma and Soviet POWs, among others. Well, in case you missed it, the Kansas City Chiefs and Philadelphia Eagles heading to Super Bowl 59. A rally on Wall Street this morning, we should say. Wall Street is deep in the red. The Dow is down 78 points, but the NASDAQ is off 528 points. More on these stories, townhall.com.
Making America great again starts with making America healthy again. You know, I lost over 50 pounds on the PhD weight loss and nutrition program. Nearly 3 years later, I've kept it off. You know why? Because I trusted Dr. Ashley Lucas and the terrific team at PhD Weight Loss. They've been making America healthy for over 10 years. Millions are being spent on weight loss injections that have harmful side effects and lifelong dependency. Do what I did. Take the natural approach that isn't connected to Big Pharma's bottom line. Based on science and nutrition, a proven roadmap that has helped over 8,000 clients lose weight and keep it off. You'll learn how to quiet the cravings, finally release that unhealthy belly fat. You won't be hungry, and you're never going to be taking a medication. How many pounds do you want to lose in 2025? PhD Weight Loss, leading the charge to make America healthy again. Text the word healthy to 717767. Just text the word healthy to 717767, or visit myphdweightloss.com, myphdweightloss.com.
Residents of eastern Congo's largest city awoke today unsure of who's in charge of the city, which Rwanda-backed rebels claim to have captured. The BBC's Camilla Mills says it's the latest development in a long-running dispute.
We can go back 3 decades, and that's where the conflict really began in eastern DRC. So that was at the end of the Rwandan genocide. The M23 rebels, they formed in 2012, and they say that they formed to protect the Tutsi population who live in eastern DRC. Now, this latest conflict began about 3 years ago, and since then, we've had this back and forth. But this is the latest escalation that we've seen, and the most dramatic. Goma is strategically incredibly important. Also, the UN peacekeeping base is in Goma. So the capture of Goma is a massive coup for the M23.
An official government survey shows that China's factory activity contracted this month for the first time in about 4 months. News and analysis, townhall.com. The GOP looking to make gains in a couple of key states.
Republicans put Pennsylvania and Wisconsin back in the win column in the 2024 presidential race. Now they're hoping the momentum carries over to contests this year that will determine whether their state's Supreme Courts retain Democrat majorities or flip to Republican control. The outcome can be critical in deciding cases related to abortion, election disputes, voting laws, and much more. Jason Walker reporting.
The rain that has fallen across parts of Southern California is a mixed blessing. It is expected to help firefighters who are still dealing with multiple wildfires. However, potentially heavy downpours on charred hillsides could bring new troubles like toxic ash runoff and mudslides. National Weather Service reported rain showers over the weekend in the affected areas. More on these stories, townhall.com.
It's winter. Cold wind, snow, all the stuff you as a mature adult don't want to mess with. Time to get on the waiting list at Taylor Real Estate's Assisted Living. They offer a warm, family-type setting, including visits with friends, riding the bus to local activities, have your own apartment, and 3 home-cooked meals every day. Get on their waiting list now so you can enjoy the assisted living lifestyle and not worry about the cold. Stop by or call Administrator Tony Clark at 824-2222, 824-2222. Taylorville Estates Assisted Living, encouraging independence, enriching lives.
This is Staff Meteorologist Paul Trombley with your regional radio forecast. Ample sunshine expected today with daytime highs approaching 43. Southwesterly winds 10 to 15 miles per hour. Lows level off around 28 tonight, mainly clear skies. High temperatures reach up to 46 tomorrow. Ample sunshine expected. Get weather anytime by calling 824-6101 or online at TaylorvilleDailyNews.com. Right now, 23.
Thank you to everyone who came out to our 110th anniversary open house. This is Shalis Nagel, Executive Director of Kimmer Village. Kimmer Village in Assumption, Illinois, supports children and families in our home communities. You can join our mission through your tax-deductible donation.